Hey everybody, how are y'all doing? So today has not been the best day for me. You can probably tell in my voice. I've screamed quite a lot today. And that brings me to my topic of anger. A lot of people feel that anger is a negative emotion, it's a frowned upon emotion. And I'm here to tell you that whoever told you that, they're wrong. They're absolutely wrong. Anger is an absolutely valid human emotion that needs to be healthfully expressed. Now, not to get all biblical on you all, but the God of the Bible, who is loving and merciful, also has healthfully expressed anger in his own right. Now, whether you believe in the contents of the Bible or not, that's just a fact, because that's what the Bible has told us. So, is expressing anger healthy and necessary when you feel it? Yes. Anger is an emotion that should be expressed in the moment. It's not something to be suppressed, because when you suppress anger, it starts then to layer itself over and over and over. And in some people, when they've suppressed anger so much, it can then start to transform into and intermingle with sadness. And then that's where the body gets confused as to how it should express that feeling of anger. I know for myself, before I did a lot of my healing after my domestic abuse, whenever I would feel anger, I would start crying. Tears would just pour down my face. And my counselor at the time, she's like, I want you to pay attention to that whenever you start feeling angry, that all of a sudden there's this shift. Because it's very common for the two emotions to get convoluted. And when you should be expressing anger, people often then shift over to sadness and they start crying. And that is not the emotion that you should be expressing. Sadness and anger are two very distinct emotions, and they should not be commingling. But obviously, because my body had been suppressing anger for so long, right? Because expressing anger is an ugly emotion, especially for women. Oh no, that's not ladylike. Oh no, you shouldn't be shouting, or you shouldn't be showing any angst, or oh, that's not a good look on you. All those little things, they start to add up. So even something as little as a pet peeve, right? You don't say anything because you don't want to stir the waters, or then you don't want to confront people. You start developing this fear around what? Just a simple conversation? Because that's all a confrontation is a simple conversation. But what changes it and what starts developing a fear in people is their attitude towards that conversation. Because if you can just sit down with somebody and you develop, or rather you interact using the three things that I like to call the KTT, which is kindness, tactfulness, and thoughtfulness, then what's there to be scared of? Nothing, right? Because if somebody's going to react negatively towards kindness, tactfulness, and thoughtfulness, then they're a little bit batty. I'm just saying it, right? But somehow there's always been this negative, fearful spin on the word confrontation. So why don't we start to replace the word confrontation with conversation? And you see how automatically that relieves, it eases the air. You don't feel that pressure, you don't feel that tension. So, sorry, I went on a tangent there. However, coming back to anger. When you feel anger is simply setting a boundary. It's simply saying, you've crossed over a line here, and I'm wanting you to go back. There is a psychiatrist, I believe, or psychologist. Whoops, my headphones just went down. Gabor Mate, I believe is his name. And he has used the illustration of like, imagine if somebody was like right in your face, like right here, right? How would that make you feel? Like you would start feeling like frustrated, and like if they're not moving, what would you say? Maybe you would use your words first, right? You'd be like, hey, excuse me, can you please back off? Like you're in my personal space. What if they don't abide by what you're saying? Well, then if they're not going to make space for you, you then have to make space for yourself. So then if they're not respecting your space, you start feeling something like in your solar plexus, right? Just kind of like rumbling, and you feel that twinge. You feel, it's not necessarily a tingle, but it's like kind of like a stinging sensation almost. So then you're kind of forced to then push them away, right? Some people be like, oh, well, that's like an act of violence. That's an angry way to kind of deal with the situation. Well, you tried to use their words, they didn't listen. So you simply used your anger to just push them away to make more space, right? And that's it. The action is what melts the anger away. The action serves its purpose as a way in response to the feeling of anger. And then it dissipates. Because that's what anger is supposed to do. It's simply supposed to be an in-moment thing. But you have to act on it right there in the moment. Because once you do, then it goes away, right? Once the person has stepped back, then you can breathe easy and you feel a sense of relief. So here's my advice to those who perhaps feel when they're angry, they cry, or when they feel anger bubbling up and they can feel like that flush of heat. First of all, breathe deep, breathe from your diaphragm. Imagine there's like a tire around your waist and you're wanting to push the tire away from your belly. That's a good way to kind of just close your eyes, focus on your breath. Make sure this part doesn't lift up. Make sure you have a hand on your belly. Just try to push it out like that without this lifting. Then I would say go to maybe a quiet place in nature, a place that you really love. And scream from like the depths of your core, like from right here. Scream at the water. Like here, I live by a river. Oh, you don't know how many times I have screamed to the abyss of this river. If somebody has said something to me that has caused me to be angry, I then find my center by breathing deeply. And there's actually a scripture from the Bible that I think that says like, be wrathful, but do not sin. So wrath is like kind of like an amplified word to express anger. But it says like, go ahead, be angry, be wrathful, but don't act in a way that is going to be harmful to others. Like that is really going to violently hurt them, or that's going to put you in a position where then you're going to have to be like, oh crap, now I have to answer for my consequences. Great way to do that. Screaming. Really letting all that tension out, because like this area can get so tense, especially if you've been suppressing anger. I think of like a stack of pancakes and then like something heavy, like pressing it down and just pressing and squeezing it down. Just because like the stack gets like physically smaller doesn't mean that the layers aren't still there. So like you want to relieve that pressure, right? So by screaming, you lift that whatever anvil or whatever it is, by lifting it up, removing it, and then peeling off each layer one by one by one. Now, Rome wasn't built in a day. So being mindful, meditating, focusing on your solar plexus, and trying to release that energy, not focusing it on people necessarily, right? Because sometimes we can be snappy towards somebody. Sometimes we can be sarcastic. A lot of people use sarcasm as a way to release that energy. Focus it into nature. Focus it outward where it's just going to go into the ether, right? And it's going to dissipate and it's going to vaporize. And eventually you will feel lighter. You will feel better about yourself. You'll start feeling a need that you won't need to be sarcastic towards people, that you won't need to have to come with like a snappy comeback, because you will just stop caring. And it's not that you're going to be apathetic, but it's just you're going to feel so much more at peace within yourself. That then whatever people choose to do, whatever issues and whatever perhaps anger issues people have, that's not going to affect you because you've dealt with your own crap, right? And you can just say, you know what? I'm rejecting that. I'm just bouncing that energy right off because I'm at peace with myself and I'm calm with myself. So that's sort of my 2 bits on anger. I did that hella today because of something that I discovered. And I was in the car with my dad. And I think he was just so shocked because it was just something that just like came out naturally. Like I just felt it and I just needed to expel it. It was kind of like energetic vomit that just needed to come out, you know, like when you have that gag reflex. And it's kind of similar. Like I have to do some research if maybe the vagus nerve is involved in that, but like, you know, when you're done, because like I screamed and then I screamed again. And I think I screamed like 4 times, and then it's like my body relaxed. Like your body will let you know when in that moment, when you're expelling the anger, when you're done. And then you feel like, you just want to sleep. It's kind of like when you've climaxed, like honestly. And it feels so good when you've released that like negative suppressed energy. And you feel like you can just like move on with the day and the rhythm. And it does take a lot out of you, mentally and physically. So I do recommend that for those that perhaps have done this exercise, to then go and rest, take a nap, or just get cozy, relax. Watch a show that you watched 1,000 times. I know for a lot of people, it's Friends, it's The Office, it's Parks and Rec. For me, my favorite comedy is Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I've watched it hundreds of times, where you know exactly what's going to happen scene by scene, because you don't want something to like stimulate your brain, or like watch like a drama or like maybe a crime show that is gonna like start causing like kind of like your brain's electricity and energy to start going. No, you want something that's gonna just relax you, something mind numbing. And you know, some people like to take a bath, just whatever is gonna just help reset you and soothe you. But I honestly recommend sleep, because sleep is the best way to reset our brains. Anyways, I hope this helped some. It has been a really good cathartic way for me to help healthfully express anger. And remember, don't feel guilty for feeling angry, and just ensure that you do not hurt others or yourself while you're expressing your anger. Music can be a great way, also a great outlet. If you feel you need to listen to angry music, like when you're driving and feel just the music go through you as you're expressing the anger, that can also be a good conduit. But I feel there is something to be said to do the physical action of expelling the anger from you, because that's why they say the body keeps the score. There's a book that's called that, and I do recommend reading it because it is really, really informative. I forget the author's name, but you can look it up. The body keeps the score. And it's really eye-opening as to how much the body does hold on to, even though our conscious mind may not be aware. But anyways, I really appreciate you guys watching these videos, and I hope all of you are keeping well. Take care. Bye. Hey everyone, I'm back at home. I totally forgot to mention, sorry, I got a haircut and they kind of did me dirty, is exercise. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't think about it in the moment. Exercise is like a great way to express anger healthfully. I know a lot of people do like kickboxing or Taibo or something that's going to get your body moving and just getting that kinetic energy to like move. Amazing. Like, think about, again, your solar plexus and just getting all of that out. That's why a lot of people like running, because they get that runner's high. And if they're angry, they just go and run. I'm just thinking about Forrest Gump. Run, Forrest. Like, just literally just like, people do cycling, like, just cycle as fast as you can, like, get all that motion out. Swimming, like, anything that like you can kind of like speed up or like really get like moving, like, do it. Like, unfortunately for myself, because my mental illness, like, I can't do too much like high intensity cardio because it might trigger my mania. So that's why I do the screaming technique. But for those of you that like absolutely can do it and it won't affect you in that way, do it. It's amazing. So yeah, I just forgot to mention that, so I'll put it at the end of the video. All right, love you guys. Bye.